Alrighty, here we go. It's episode two. More episodes than that, but episode two on video. We just did one Wednesday night with Nick and Jason, and so this is got Arnie here.
Hello.
Now the bass player in Blood Coven. Am I allowed to say that now?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Anybody that knows me knows that Arnie's like a brother. In 20 some years I've known this guy. So
What, 19 when we met?
18.
18. Wow.
23 years, yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, you've been on Gnarcast episodes. This is just the first time that everybody can see our ugly mugs. So
Yeah. Like, holy shit, I didn't think he was that ugly.
it's like Nick said on the other episode, we got faces for radio.
Exactly.
But I know we were talking the other night and we just started talking about LG Petrov passing away, and we just figured, I thought, you know what, why don't we just do this? It's kind of like a quick one-off episode. I know we are going to do one with Justin that was like a one for guitarists or whatever, but he's been a little busy, so we're still waiting on him. And I just figured, like, the way that we always talk on the phone, or when we hang out, we just talk metal, and we started talking about Entombed and all these albums he was on. And I thought, you know what, why don't we just save it and just do an episode and just kind of have fun with it? So
That works out good.
yeah, I mean, I'd rather it be under different circumstances and the dude still be alive, but I don't know. It's like I said on the episode the other night, sucks. He's what, a month younger than you?
Yeah. Well, not even a month. I think 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, something like that. Yeah. 49, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
And it's more and more guys, like another guy just died from the Cleveland metal scene. I'm not gonna put his name out there, but he ended up passing away. I think it was this morning. 49, 50 years old. Was in a bunch of bands in Cleveland and stuff. And it's just too many guys around my age. I mean, LG, you didn't see a video or a picture of him without something in his hand, drinking something, smoking something.
Mm-hmm.
I think the guy, in the 30 plus years he's been in the music scene, he probably lived more of a life than most people do, doing what he loved. But I read that he found out like 7 years ago that he had cancer. And I think it's just been in the past year that he let people know what was going on.
Yeah,
or at least
August is when it first came out that, he posted a picture and said that he was being treated for that cancer. But you told me that it was a while ago.
Yeah, I read that. And he had bile duct cancer, which is super rare.
Mm-hmm.
But it's incurable.
Yeah,
it's one of those ones that they fight it as long as they can, but eventually it's like pancreatic cancer. It's really, really, really hard to beat.
Well, I know when you sent me that video just a couple weeks ago, that was, it was him in the hospital, and he looked so frail that it was like, it was sad. And I remember when you sent it, you were like, it is really sad. And he kind of breaks down at the end. And
yeah,
I don't know. He was so skinny, and when you saw that, and obviously he knew as well that was like the end was near. So,
right.
And it just sucks. It's.
Yeah, like I posted, I said, I knew it was coming, but didn't stop the sting, when it's still, I was just like, I'm not really one to get really emotional over people that I don't know, but know through music passing. It's never been that way. I take that back. When Dean Martin died, that was a tough. But
Dino.
with some of those other guys, it's like, that really sucks. But I was actually sad
Mhm.
about LG's passing, and it made me break out all the CDs, and even we have for in our car we have that Sirius radio. They get that liquid metal on.
Mhm.
They were all entombed, fire spawn, anything that had him in it,
Mhm.
playing it. And I was just like, man, that tells you, a guy that's death metal guy, you
Yeah.
know, affects enough people to where they're actually rotating his music on the Sirius XM radio thing.
Yeah.
It's like easy.
I mean, it's crazy, man. They're one of the heavy hitters. I mean, they're one of the originators, Entomb, Dismember, Grave, that whole Swedish death metal
Yeah.
scene. I mean, I had a buddy, Randy, just texting me before this episode, and he was like, when was he playing drums on Morbid? Like, how old was he? And I was like, I don't know. That Nihilist demo was what, 87 or 88, or it was late 80s. And
Yeah. Well, he would have been 14, 15 years old.
I mean, that's just like crazy, you know?
When I was playing in bands at 14, 15 years old, we couldn't put a song together. Idea how to put a song together. Basically, it was like four guys in a room just learning how to play their instruments at the exact same time, praying that something sounds okay.
Yeah.
These guys are out recording demos at 14, 15 years old. It's like, what? But oh yeah, I mean, Dwayne Morris from Cleveland, he posted his whole collection, the LG collection. He's got all the Morbid stuff, the Nihilist stuff, every Entombed album.
Mhm.
It's crazy. It was all the stuff and it's just he knew those guys. I think he went to Sweden before. I know he went to Sweden. I'm not sure how much he hung out with the Entombed guys, but
Mhm.
just everybody I know somehow or another was big time into Entombed and LG and his vocals.
Mhm.
It's rare for like if the main songwriter or something like that passes away in a band for people to be like, oh wow, that really sucks, because but LG brought something different to the table. Was his vocals. Most people are like, he's just a death metal vocalist, yeah. But he brought so much to the table as just even just being a vocalist,
Mhm.
his vocal influence. It'd be like Martin Van Drunen,
Mhm.
he's just got those distinct vocals that
I think that's
everybody.
something that's missing from death metal today, are all of the different. There were so many dynamics with a lot of the death metal vocalists back then, because Tardy doesn't sound like David Vincent, who doesn't sound like Glenn Benton, who doesn't sound like LG, who doesn't sound like these guys all had their own unique sound. Now
Right.
today it's what I call, it's like mumble rap of death metal, and it's
Okay.
all the same. It's like this low rumbling, and there's no identity to it, and I think with LG, especially on the last thing he did, that newest, Entombed AD, uh,
Yeah.
his voice is so brutal.
I know.
Like, it's so guttural, but at the same time you could still understand him. It's still like 100% him. But yeah, man, I think that today death metal is kind of a joke in a lot of ways. It just, back then it seemed like those dudes were taking all of their influences, and they did listen to like Dokken and Ozzy, and they grew up with all this stuff and they incorporated it. I mean, and that's why these albums are so catchy and they're so good. But now it's like bands, it seems like they're just trying to put albums out for the sake of putting albums out, and these vocalists are just, how can we do? I mean, back in the day, there were only a couple guys here and there that I could say had toilet bowl vocals. Now they all do. It's
They
like,
all.
yeah.
It's like everybody wants to go deeper than Chris Barnes did on Tomb of the Mutilated and the Bleeding.
Ugh.
You know.
Have you heard him on that newest 6 Feet?
Uh,
You haven't?
no.
Dude, I gotta, I'll have to send it to you. I thought it was a joke. I thought
Really?
somebody online, like musically, it's whatever. It's really not terrible. I think Jack Owen's in the band now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Musically, it's kind of like whatever. It's not absolutely horrible, but when the vocals kick in, dude, I thought dude, somebody's got to be taking the piss with this because there's no way. I thought somebody like dubbed, like some kind of joke vocal track on it. It's so bad.
Oh man.
But no, I agree though. They all try to be like that real low guttural. And I'm like, man, what happened to like back in the day, the vocalists were just as popular as like anybody else in the band. I mean,
Yeah.
you know more because you're older than me, but you
Yeah.
were into that stuff at the time.
To me, it seemed like vocalists weren't trying to copy each other as much as they wanted to bring out their own identity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of them it was what they were, what came out.
Mm-hmm.
But like LG was a drummer, so when he started doing vocals, they were probably like, "Dude, that's sick.
Mm-hmm.
Your voice is sick. You need to be a vocalist."
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, I remember when we were getting into death metal and then in the '80s, there were some people that just couldn't do those type of vocals. And then there's ones that would sound just like somebody else, but it was when you'd hear that one guy be like, "Oh, dude, you got to do vocals.
Yeah.
Your vocals are badass."
Mm-hmm.
Because when we were listening to albums, that's how it was. Jeff Becerra had a certain voice.
Mm-hmm.
And Van Drunen had a certain voice. These guys all had these different, unique, identifiable voices. As soon as you heard it, you knew who that was.
Yeah.
And nowadays, when you listen to some stuff, you can't discern the music, you can't discern the vocals. They all just sound like cookie cutters of the same thing. I think that whole idea of being trendsetters
Mm-hmm.
has disappeared
Yeah.
especially in the death metal scene. There's no trendsetters like even those bands that are coming out of Europe who are all using the HM2. They just, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I like some of those bands. There's some really good bands that do that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but they're not doing anything trend setting. And I think that's the difference between in the '80s when there was no death metal, and then all of a sudden these guys were taking their trash and getting heavier and creating these other elements. They were setting a trend, and now death metal's been around for 30 some years. That now it's like everybody just wants to copy the earlier guys.
Yeah.
You don't want to just trend set.
Yeah.
I mean, there are bands out that are kind of trend setting. Like the first one that pops off my head is that Blood Incantation. Is that the name of the band? The ones with the aliens and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's a bit different. It's something I can say, okay, I see what they're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
But so much wiggling through stuff just to find that one thing that goes, oh, holy shit.
Yeah. That's what I know. That's how Justin and I talk all the time about like stoner or doom. You'll sit there and go down the YouTube rabbit hole for like 6 hours and you might find one or two videos that you're like, wow, this is really good. And the rest of it is just like, I don't need some band named, Weed Wizard Druid Mountain Beard. You know what I mean?
Holy
Like,
shit.
and it just has the most generic Sabbath riffs. And that's what death metal is, tomb mold or
Yeah.
I get so some of the cover art's really cool, but I just know what it's going to sound like. There's very few bands here and there that come out nowadays, death metal wise, that really shock me or surprise me. And I think, man, I really need to get that. And I'm still just going for the old school bands, like the new like anytime Grave releases an album or Asphyx or
That new Benediction.
oh dude,
Shit.
that new Benediction, anything Autopsy puts out is
Right,
still
exactly. Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, that new Benediction is just like the old Benediction, but it's fresh and it's like they didn't miss a step.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't go, oh well, let's adapt to the times, or let's try and just keep follow the current trend or anything like that. They went back and said, oh, this is benediction. We're going to play benediction
Yeah.
music.
No, man, I agree 100%. It's like, that's why I like that last Entombed AD, because it was just kind of a throwback to, without sounding cheap,
Right.
it was just a really good album. But and I kind of fear when those bands disappear. Now, I'm not a fan of the newest Morbid Angel, even though I got my Gateways to Annihilation tee on, but that newest one, I just couldn't get into it. I want Altars or Blessed or Covenant. That's what
Right.
that's what made Morbid Angel to me. I don't mind Domination. I don't mind Gateways, but I thought that they were better earlier on. And the newest one was kind of like, whatever. I mean, it's better than the one previous to that.
Yeah, what that fucking abomination.
Yeah. What was it? Served with an I. I don't even know anything. I never bought it. I know that what was some of the songs, like the lyrics, like kill a cop or something like that. Dude, it was so horrible. I listened to stuff and I thought it was a joke. It was crap. But
Was there even like a techno song on it or some shit, or they had like techno
yeah,
stuff
it's
to
weird. Like, there are death metal songs on it. The whole album isn't like that, but even the death metal songs are just like, this is trash. Trey's just a weirdo, man.
it?
Just a weirdo. But I don't know. I know maybe I think Hypocrisy's got one coming out that's possibly, I thought I read. I can't remember. But a lot of these older bands are releasing stuff, and I'm just like, that's fine with me, man.
Let them keep putting it out, like the new Asphyx. People going ape shit about that coming out.
What was that?
That,
Yeah, that is a keeper big time.
right.
I mean, Van Drunen still sounds
Brutal.
awesome. Yeah.
I was just listening to Pestilence the other day, and I can't listen. I don't like the Pestilence without Van Drunen. I don't like Patrick Mameli's vocals. They're just generic.
You told me a long time ago that that guy was a clown,
Oh yeah,
and I never really paid attention to it. I do have some of the newer Pestilence stuff, and it's okay. I think the one called, I could bust it out. It's a Resurrection Macabre. I think I have. Yeah.
I mean, you can't take any of those newer albums and be like, oh, this compares to Consuming Impulse.
No, they're not. And I tell you, I ended up buying these two,
Uh,
Doctrine and Obsidio. I couldn't tell you what one song sounds like, honestly. And I quit buying them. And then, did you see recently where he posted some picture of himself with like some all over print, and he has like this like blonde ponytail. That's it. He's completely bald, and he's got like this, and he's
I don't pay attention. When I read that interview he did in some magazine where he said all death metal fans were fucking idiots, and he wasn't going to do death metal anymore, and he just basically sold out and talked a bunch of shit about metal, and
yeah.
then that career crash and burns because he's trying to play new metal, and then he decides, oh, I'm going to suck all the death metal guys' dicks and try to get back and good with them,
Mhm.
and put out death metal albums. Fight it. I hope you fail. I hope you have to go be a goddamn cashier at a grocery store. You're
Dude, this you got to look. Well, I think he took it down, but this shirt he had was like an all over print with the sleeves cut off, and he was like all tan, and people trashed him,
good.
and he like blocked them and like took it. And people were just like, this guy's a clown, man.
Oh, he is. He's an arrogant douche.
But
Well, so like the different vocals when it gets to LG, like the one thing I loved about him is like he adapted to the style that the music was changing to.
Mm-hmm.
I got to hear him do songs off of Clandestine
Mm-hmm.
when they toured and they were played in Cleveland, and he did those Clandestine songs.
You saw him
And
twice.
I saw him on their first tour
Mm-hmm.
with Morbid Angel Unleashed, and it was in Cleveland, so Embalmer opened up. And that's back when Flashes had the really low floor, low stage.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm like this close to Johnny from Unleashed. You know, he's screaming in the microphone, and spit hit me in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And LG wasn't at that show. He didn't play then. They had, I think, that Youth Cedarling guy was doing the vocals, and I was pissed. I didn't know what was going on. You didn't have the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they came back around, they had him back in the band, and they had built the stage up taller, higher at Flashes. I don't remember who else was on that show, on that bill. I know I got the stub somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, oh, man, that's right then and there. Seeing him live is what did it. Because I love Left Hand Path, and his vocals were really cool and distinct. And I loved Clandestine because Nick's vocals are really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And but you know, when I finally got to see LG live and see
Mm-hmm.
how he worked the crowd, his whole ability, his frontman abilities,
Mm-hmm.
I was just like hooked right then. I was like, this rules. You know, and then you know, Wolverine Blues comes out, it's a little less death metal, it's a little more rock and roll stuff. So you couldn't keep doing the vocal. I don't think it would have fit as well if he would have kept doing the Left Hand Path style vocals. He had to adjust it some. And then as the albums got more and more different or down a different road, he adapted to it. And then not only did he adapt, but the vocals he did on each album that reflected the style of music he was doing fucking ruled.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't just like, you know, some guys can't do multiple styles of heavy vocals and still sound good doing it, you know. And there's plenty of examples of that. Guy could do ultra brutal vocals, and then he goes to try to do not as heavy of a vocal or mid-range, less gruff, and sounds like ass. So
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, because I know, I mean, Left Hand Path, he's obviously, that album's it's a death metal classic. And I remember back in the day when I heard, you know, Clandestine, and I was like, this dude doesn't sound the same. It's not LG. But then Wolverine Blues, which ended up becoming my favorite, he's perfect on that. Everything about that album is absolutely perfect. And I'm glad I got the one with the
oh yeah, nice.
the
I remember I got this one.
Yeah. So is that the one on Earache that was like remastered?
93 and 96.
Okay, because they've re-released it. This one has the actual comic in it.
Oh yeah, I remember when they did that one. When I Camelot Records, they had it. You bought that and you got a Wolverine comic book with it.
Yeah, and it's on Columbia.
Yeah, see the back of mine's real different.
Yeah,
it's got that bonus track on it, State of Emergency.
See, I don't have that. You have that.
Yeah, it's just straight up earache.
The thing that the reason why I loved this back in the day because the Dinosaur Jr. tee on, CBS Sports hat. That's so awesome. And but I was hooked. The first time I heard this, and actually where I bought this was Blockbuster Music. Remember that down in Canton? Used to go in there with a stack. I said this the other night on the episode. Used to go in there and just sit down and just open up and listen. And this I listened to with The Obsessed, The Church Within, because they were both on Columbia. And now that I think of it, I didn't buy this. This isn't the one. I didn't buy this yet it wasn't until, because the very first one I ever bought was To Ride, Shoot Straight, and Speak the Truth, which is a couple years later, several years later. But that's the first one I bought. And then I remember buying Wolverine Blues because I remembered it. I don't know why I didn't buy it at the time. I think it was the Obsessed just hit me way harder. And I was like, oh my God, it was doomy and it was just like heavy rock. And I mean, it just was more me. But everything on this, man, Wolverine Blues, it's so heavy. And yeah, it started that whole death and roll thing, but
I had a different experience with it. When I saw the video on MTV.
mhm,
I was pissed because I wanted another left-hand path,
mhm.
and no one was doing. I mean, we were like, "What the fuck is this?" There were a lot of bands at that time that were changing their styles drastically. I mean, like, I can't even think of the fucking band's name, but they were on Relapse and they were like a total death metal band. And then like their next album was like fucking like the Pixies or some shit, or just like
Was it Pyogenesis?
yes, that's exactly who it was.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
like, what the fuck? You want to talk about being pissed?
Yeah,
You got the early album, you go and you buy this new one, you're like, there's something wrong here. They must have put the wrong album in here because this isn't the same band.
yeah,
So when Entombed did that, we were like, fuck, no, no, no. We want another death metal album.
yeah.
But I warmed up to it.
Mhm,
And I didn't warm up to it until, funny enough, until Uprising came out.
mm,
I ignored all those middle albums because I wanted Left Hand Path Part 2. And then Uprising came out, and everybody's like, "Oh, it sounds like fucking Entombed playing Motorhead." And I'm
mhm,
like, "Give it a try." So I bought it, and I fucking fell in love with it. So that made me go back and get Wolverine Blues.
mhm.
So like, okay, I never did get To Ride or what's the one after that?
Same difference.
Difference. Because my buddies had told me don't bother. If you don't like the Wolverine Blues is way more death metal than those two albums were.
Yeah.
Not Uprising, and then as the other ones came out, Inferno and freaking Morning Star and all that shit, I got into those.
Mhm.
To Live Coming, I found it online because I listen to it now. I went
Yeah.
on YouTube, listened to it. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I need to get that.
Well, yeah, and no, and I get that because that's kind of like right where you got off for a little bit, but then that's right where I got on, because that's just, to me, that album was, I mean, everything about it was just awesome. Awesome. And the first song, it was Damn Deal Done. That's the song that I heard. Um, I can't remember what station it was. I think it was the station out of Streetsboro, WSTB, I think, because this came out in 97 and they were still playing metal. And it wasn't until, I can't remember when the Columbine shootings were,
Oh yeah, I don't remember either.
but I think it was around then. But that's when because I think it was run by the school system up there, believe it or not. And then after the shootings happened, they took all metal off because
I remember.
whatever. It was ridiculous. But I remember being so bummed. But that's why I heard Damn Deal Done. It was either that or remember 1079 used to play metal, one of those two stations. And I didn't know. We just heard the song and I thought, dude, this is awesome. I mean, it had that like rock and roll feel to it. Great vocals, great riffs. And I remember Mark and I um, went right to the store and bought it. And they had two copies and that was it. And we each bought one. And it's great. I mean, my favorite songs, Somewhat Peculiar and They, kind of back to back. They first, then Somewhat Peculiar. Those two songs are so good. I same difference. It's just not Entombed.
Yeah.
It's not a bad album. It's a good rock and roll album. heavy rock, whatever you want to call it. There's songs on it that are definitely, metal, but it suffered from that. If you change the logo drastically and then has some goofy album cover with some dog on the front, I was like, this is not going to be a death metal album at all. And it wasn't. So I kind of gave up for a little bit. And I think it was actually you when you got Uprising. That's 21 years ago. And I remember you getting that and being like, dude, you got to hear this. And I thought, I don't know. Yeah.
One I got on 3-Man Records, and it's got the Made in England sticker on it.
Yeah, dude, that's so awesome. Mine's on the back. Made in England. Yours on the front. Is yours on Music for Nations?
Yeah. And 3-Man Recordings.
Yeah. What's your favorite
Track or
yeah,
my favorite
on that.
I love so many. I'd say Seeing Red, Fade and Slugs, Scottish Hell.
Dude, that's the one I wrote down. Scottish Hell and Something Out of Nothing. Those two. But yeah, dude, Scottish Hell is such a cool tune. But that, I mean, it has the old, older logo back. It's straightforward, black and white cover. I thought, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'm glad I did. I think it's a great album.
Yeah. And then I got Inferno, and it took me a while to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the production. I think the production's muddy.
Yeah.
And it's just something lacking about it. But some of the songs, like The Fix Is In, what the fuck was the other one? Descent into Inferno, Flexing Muscles, Children of the Underworld. That's when I became a Satanist. I mean, I got, it took, that one took a couple of listens. Morning Star, that one instant.
Yeah.
I was hooked as soon as I heard Chief Rebel Angel and Eye for an Eye. I was like, okay, this is phenomenal. I absolutely love this album. It might be one. It's definitely I'm gonna say it's my second favorite album.
Yeah, I mean it's number 6 on my list, but 1 through 7 on my list out of their 9 albums, 1 through 7 are perfect. I mean, so I'll run through it really quick. Wolverine Blues 1, Clandestine 2, Left Hand Path, then Uprising, then To Ride, then Morning Star, then Serpent Saints, then Inferno, then Same Difference.
Yeah, mine would be number 1's Clandestine. I love Left Hand Path.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, when Clandestine came out, it was, I don't know. Ethan bought Left Hand Path, and we listened the shit out of it when he first got it, and I never bought it. But when Clandestine came out, I bought that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't sold on the whole HM2 sound at first,
mm-hmm.
but by the time Clandestine came out, I was hooked.
Mm-hmm.
And I never stopped listening to that album over and over again. And now, so it's my number 1. My number 2 is probably Morning Star. Then it would be, just because I think of it as like, it's like their other half. So I break them up into like phase A and phase B, the death metal, death rock stuff. So in tune, Morning Star would be number 2, then Left Hand Path, And then Serpent Saints, Uprising, Inferno, Wolverine Blues, and then that's about it. I don't have the other two. I mean, I got that 2 ride coming in the mail, but I don't think I'll even bother. Well, being a completionist, I probably will buy, same difference, just to
Yeah,
have it in the collection.
I even have on Man's Ruin.
Oh, nice. Black Juju.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's just a really cool EP that came out. This is like 98, recorded, produced by Fred Espy. So it's pretty cool. They do some covers on here, obviously, and I also have the Monkey
Oh, yeah.
in London, which is great. Um, this with I think just put all of their EPs together, if I remember correctly, and I do have State of Emergency on this.
Nice.
Then the Hollow Man
Mhm.
EP, just holding good. Great picture on the back. Just so cool.
Now, you know, one thing, I don't have any copies or any of the Nihilist or the Morbid stuff. I heard it all back in the day,
Mhm.
but being as poor as I was back then, I mean, I'd let all my buddies buy the stuff, and then it was cheaper for me to buy a brick of TDKs and copy shit off of them if they
Yeah.
were the ones. You know, 18 years old, I'm living in my own fucking apartment. You know, it's not like some of my friends are still living at home, you know, and they could get money or whatever it was. However, they were all able to get shit. I copied a lot of shit, and then once I copied it, I never really thought about buying it until I got older.
Mhm.
I would love to have all that stuff, though. I'd
Mhm.
like to have all the Morbid stuff and the Nihilist stuff. I've looked at it. It's still not that easy to come by.
Yeah. You should try that either Discogs or that Metal Detector. I know that Morbid was re-released not too long ago. I never picked it up. I don't have any of that stuff either. You know, I probably should just to have it, you know.
Yeah, that's where I'm at the point where now I'm not buying a whole lot of new stuff. So like I was watching your guys' video,
Mhm.
and Nick brought up Sanctuary Into the Mirror Black. I used to have it on CD. For some reason, somewhere, some dollar down the road, it's gone. I went downstairs to look for it. I could have swore I fucking had it, and I didn't.
Mhm.
So I jumped on Amazon, and I had Refuge Denied on cassette.
Mhm.
Well, they had a double album
Oh,
on Amazon.
wow.
So it's Refuge Denied and Into the Mirror Black for $19.99. So I snagged that. So that's what I'm kind of doing now. I mean, there are some things that pique my interest, makes me want to buy them, but mostly when it comes to buying CD and vinyl, I'm just buying a bunch of shit that I either had at one time or wish I would have bought it one time.
Do you like Sacred Reich?
Oh yeah.
Well, I never opened them, and these are now yours. Happy birthday.
Oh fuck yeah. I have them all on cassette.
Yeah, dude, they're just I have them already, and then I saw Metal Blade put them back out, and then put them all out on vinyl, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna pick them all up because I thought they were remastered with like bonus tracks and all that. No, it's just so you got Ignorance. I mean, they're not even open. Surf Nicaragua unopened, and then The American Way. So
I went and seen Sacred Reich. It was one of my first shows. I seen it was a Sacred Reich obituary and forced entry.
oh,
Yeah, and I absolutely love Sacred Reich. I had all 3 of those on cassette. Actually, I still have all 3 of those on cassette. I don't think I let Dora buy those off of me when Dora bought like 400 cassette tapes off me.
you're nuts, man.
I know. Well, I hate cassettes. I fucking hate them. And he was giving me good money for them.
No,
And
that's cool.
he was giving me merch. I got so much Soulless merch right now. It's awesome. Decrepit shit. So I mean, I made out.
Hmm.
I was never gonna listen to those cassettes again.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I seen Sacred Reich twice, I think. But I used to have that Surf Nicaragua shirt, man. I wore that shirt until it fell off of me.
Their their new one's awesome too, man.
I listened to it on YouTube. Yeah, I dig it.
It's
And
really, really good.
I didn't really like any of the in between stuff.
No, I mean Independence kind of whatever, but I like it, but then Heel I was never a real big fan of. So, but it's like what I do. I don't have any of the Fire Spawn stuff with LG, and I need to get all three because I listened to all three of them just in the past week online, and those albums are like straight Chernobyl. It's like,
Yeah,
dude, it's like, I
and
mean, Entombed
his
AD is good, but his vocals on Firespawn,
I know they're fucking brutal. I was just like the first album when it first came out. I can't remember where I was living, but I heard it and I was like, no, wait a minute, what?
mm-hmm,
You you heard what he was doing with the later Entombed albums,
mm-hmm,
you know, or and then less of it, and then when that fucking album came out, I was like, Jesus Christ, the guy didn't lose a step.
no,
He got heavier, where most guys are going lighter and lighter.
I I couldn't believe it. I think the one dude that we saw live, um, with Necrophobic. Remember we went and saw that show?
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. Oh God. But the bass player I think was in Firespawn, and that was right around when the first right around when that first album came out. But that newest one, Abominate, that was a couple years ago. I mean, like we were saying earlier, man, if you want good death metal, you got to go with the old school guys. Like they know how to do it. And just younger people, I don't know.
I think a lot of these younger guys, I give them so much credit for wanting to do death metal.
Mhm.
But they also grew up, a lot of these guys grew up listening to some really shitty metal and really shitty music. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you talk to these younger guys and they're like, oh, when I was in high school, I was listening to Korn and Limp Bizkit, you know, and then they get into like deathcore or hardcore music. Then they get into deathcore. They keep some of those influences with them,
Mhm.
you know, and you hear the newer stuff that they putting out that, you know, has got like these, like when I was listening to in the 80s when I was in high school, I was listening to fucking German thrash metal,
Mhm.
some American thrash metal, and then, you know, new wave of British heavy metal. I mean, we beat up guys that listen to fucking Motley Crue and shit, the later stuff. You know, like the first two Crue albums, awesome. First two Rat albums, awesome. You know, when they started putting more and more lipstick on and more makeup on, we dumped those bands and we're going for fucking bands that were heavier, looked like us, acted like us,
Mhm.
weren't in it just for the pussy. They're actually into it for the music, you know?
Mhm.
And so when you started creating death metal, these guys are your influence. You know, you got these great quality metal bands.
Mhm.
Fortunately, these guys are, you know, in the late 20s, early 30s. You know, I hear some of these guys talk about some of the music that they influenced them in high school, and I'm just like, no wonder your band sucks.
No, I agree, man. Just over the years, I mean, I've read, some of the deathcore bands and some of these magazine, interviews, and I'm not going to throw out names of bands because I just whatever. I don't listen to that crap. But some of the interviews, I'm just like curious. I'll check it out, read what they have to say. And some of these guys were like, yeah, we don't even really listen to metal, or
Yeah.
they've been like, what do you guys think of like Morbid Angel or Obituary? And they're just like, yeah, that stuff sucks. We never really grew up on it. And I'm like, No wonder why you're I don't understand that. Like it's garbage. Now a lot of these newer bands, they do listen to good old school stuff, but they're trying too hard to sound like it.
Like that, right? Instead of breaking new ground, they just want to
Yeah.
mimic the older school guys that they look up to.
Mhm.
There was a band that Lewis turned me on to. I can't remember he didn't turn me on to. He played the video or the song for me, and he showed me the video. That's what it was. These guys looked like they were straight up hip hop guys. The guy's drum set had no toms. It was just two bass drums, a snare, and a bunch of cymbals. And the snare was wound so tight that it sounded like firecrackers going off when he hit it. And it was they said it was slam. This is slam. Like, it's not death metal, it's slam. And I'm like, these guys have no clue who Internal Bleeding is. They invented slam. And you say, hey, have you ever heard of Internal Bleeding? No.
Yeah.
Fucking kidding me? These guys took all the slamming riffs from Suffocation and Obituary and turned it into an entire genre of music. And then these fucking, rag-headed retards are fucking playing this slam shit, and they have no fucking clue where it comes from. And they're like, well, I listen to underground hip hop more than I listen to metal. What the fuck are you playing in a metal band for?
Yeah, I don't get it. Well, it's like so many other bands, like you said, man, Internal Bleeding. Those guys don't get near enough credit, as much as they should. I mean, those guys have no way. It's like, Dying Fetus is kind of there. They had those. I've never been a big Dying Fetus guy, but there's so many great bands out there. But yeah, man, all these newer deathcore bands with their breakdowns and their, I don't know, they're just not, they've lost the plot. They just don't get it. And even a lot of these other bands that are on like $20 Spin or Profound Lore, and there's some really good bands on those labels, but a lot of the death metal that I hear, and I bought some of it, I have like a whole stack of albums that, I bought some of that stuff, and it's just boring. Just
Right.
boring. I don't know. But that doesn't mean that I've given up. I'm always,
Always looking for more.
yeah, always looking for always want some other band to come out and just blow my mind. And it's happening in black metal.
Yes.
It's not happening with stoner, which is me, stoner and doom is like my thing. And very, very few bands have been able to, impress me as of late. So it sucks that LG's not around anymore to put out more of these albums, because the guy was a character, man. And the albums he was doing were just like, that Bowels of Earth and Entombed AD is awesome. And it made me excited to like listen to that stuff, man. It was just, it was great. And I don't know, it's just a total bummer that he's gone. And I don't know, it's crazy, totally crazy. But did you ever get into the I don't know, some people say Comic-Con, some people say Comic-Con, Cum-Con, whatever,
Yeah, I actually had that album at one time on cassette.
that Megatrends
Yeah, Megatrends of Brutality.
is what I think Van Drunen's on the second one, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
I think for some reason I'm thinking, did they use a drum machine?
I think on the first album.
Yeah. Okay.
I think.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good album. But if I remember correctly, I remember everybody being kind of like, the drums.
Yeah.
It's not like nowadays where you program drums and they sound like a real drummer. Back then when someone's doing a blast beat on a drum machine, it sounded like a fucking Casio keyboard player. And some guy said there were two keys, horrible. I should know. I was in a band that did that.
Which was that? Which band?
Drugita.
Like he
He,
did. You guys didn't have a drummer.
no, no, not the first two albums. Well, the first two demos that turned into a full length album. No drums. It was Buddy programming a drum machine, and he was good at it. There were some people out there that weren't good at it.
Mm-hmm.
When we played live, we had a DAT machine, a DAT machine, and all of our drums were programmed onto DATs. And I had gotten an old fucking cart from one of the schools that I was cleaning. They were gonna pitch like a rubber mat on top. We brought that with us on to do shows. We set the DAT machine on it, and it was my job to press play, press play, and into the song. It was nice to worry about a drummer, but at the same time, it's a little ahead of its time. At the same time, I mean, Drugita was mixing black metal and industrial and death metal all together at once, and it just wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Some people got it, most people didn't.
Yeah.
Then when we got Dennis, the vocalist, decided he was going to start playing drums and vocals at the same time. That didn't work out, so we kicked him out completely. And then we got John Roddy, who was, me and Buddy were in a band before Drugita. The band was originally called Burial Benefits, and then when I joined, we changed it to Hemorrhage.
Mm-hmm.
And it was me, John, and Bud. And then so when Drugita, when we kicked out Dennis, we got John Roddy back in the band. And then I left to go, I had to get a job at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So I got his job at a factory, and I left, and Dan Haynes took over on bass, and John Roddy played the drums, and then they put out a shit ton of albums like that. Mm-hmm. With those guys, with that lineup. They dumped all the industrial stuff, and all the black stuff disappeared. And
was that, you guys went to, was it Drugita or From the Depths that you went to Milwaukee Metal Fest?
Drugita. Yeah. It's funny because I was watching the Church of Satan has a thing called a Warlock of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Ingram was Warlock of the Year this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was watching the award ceremony, and my wife's sitting there next to me, and I'm like, see that guy there? So, yes. Said me and him sat backstage at the Milwaukee Metal Fest in this long ass hallway, and the guys from Benediction were the only guys who would talk to you, like actually have conversations with you. Mm-hmm. Like I walked up to the guy to Rob Lowe with Solitude, told him how much I love the album and all that stuff, that the Depths of Sorrow, and they didn't want nothing to do with me. It's kind of whatever. But I walked over and told Benediction, I was like, I fucking love you guys' stuff, blah blah. And me and Dave Ingram stood there and just fucking talked for like, I don't know, we were backstage for like 6 fucking hours.
Wow.
Wait on. So I'm sitting there hanging out with the Benediction guys, just talking.
Mm-hmm.
Here, all these years later, he's got another Benediction album out, and he's getting this award and all that stuff. It's weird because when I look at him on TV, it's not the same skinny British dude that I spent 6 hours talking to backstage one time. But and he hasn't lost nothing. You know about nobody losing anything on their voice. Jesus fucking Christ, that new Benediction album, his voice is perfect.
Yeah, it's so good, man. And that's why I was blown away by it, because I think, I don't know if it was he in that other band, Memoriam.
Yes. I'm pretty sure it was Memoriam. I mean, he was in Bolt Thrower for a while. He's done a lot of stuff.
It was Carl Willits.
Yeah, Carl Willits was in Bolt Thrower, and then so was
that's why I'm getting mixed up. That was but I said Barney was also in Benediction, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I'm not a big Benediction guy. I love the stuff I've heard, but I'm not like, I don't know a lot about them.
Transcend the Rubicon. That album's fucking phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I like it better than the Barney stuff. Subconscious Terror.
Yeah, I think the one that I heard was probably Subconscious Terror, because I remember, yeah, but I don't think I own any of the Benediction albums though. I do need to get that new one. I've listened to it online, so
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I got it. I don't. I want to get it on vinyl.
dude, there's so much stuff that comes out so quickly. It's like,
I get past. I'm like, okay, make a mental note. If I don't go instantly into Amazon and put it in my fucking cart, I'll
mhm,
forget about
yeah,
it. My brain's just used up so much fucking ridiculous information that I have no short-term memory anymore. I can remember the lyrics I wrote in 8th grade about a death, writing death metal like lyrics before there was death metal. Like I remember the whole fucking thing, but to remember what I ate for lunch yesterday, fuck, it's gone in and out. It's the sponge is full.
yeah.
Thinking
Uh,
on any new.
that's how I am with so many. It's like that new Evergrey came out, and I was like, man, I haven't bought an Evergrey album in years. And then I looked at my collection, and I have. I was just like, oh, I didn't even know I owned these, and I was like, oh, I better go and pre-order the new one. So I pre-ordered it, and then like 2 weeks later, I saw another track, and I was like, oh man, I need to go pre-order that album. And I got back onto Amazon, and I was like, who pre-ordered this already? I was like, oh, I guess I did. And then I ended up getting it, which absolutely it just smokes. It's awesome. Probably the best one in a long time. But no, and that's how I was with Firespawn and LG's stuff, you know. It just kept coming out. And he was doing Entombed and Entombed AD, because there's three Entombed AD albums, I think. Um, and it's like all the stuff is written down, and I need to pick it up. Um, but
just
uh,
today, just today, when I was watching you guys, I was thinking one of your records was Trouble, self-titled.
mhm.
I'm like, well, I'm gonna listen to that. When it's downstairs, I don't have it. I'm like, how the fuck do I not have this? I could have swore I had it.
I thought you did. Did you have a tape of it?
I have the cassette tape of it. So that's where I get screwed up. I think I have it on CD. I go down to grab it, and I don't fucking have it.
Hmm.
So I gotta go through and make a list of all my stuff I have on cassette, or I need to have that I had on cassette. I wish I would have written it down long before. But I have Plastic Greenhead,
I love that album.
but I don't have that. I'm like, how do I not have that
Well,
album?
you can get the self-titled now. Hammerheart
Yeah.
Records just put it out.
Oh, I went and I found it on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
So I picked it up. I grabbed it today.
That's why I wanted to do the 1990 episode, because I was listening to the self-titled Trouble, and I thought, and I know Nick and Jason were like, just, we really want to do this, just choose a year. So I was just kind of looking, and I looked at the album, well, 1990, let's go with that. And I know a couple people commented on it saying that they thought that it would be kind of they were
Boring year.
yeah. And then they looked at the list, and they were like, holy crap, man. It's like, I commented in the group, I said, there's so many albums I didn't include. I mean, it's like Violence, I think Oppressing the Masses came out, the first Black Crowes album, Cause of Death. I think that's got to be 90. I think it was 90. Um,
Yeah, I think it is.
but
That's the year I graduated high school.
oh my God. Yeah.
I remember going to Quonset Hut my senior year and buying a lot of that shit. Buying it on set.
I brought that up a couple times. I miss that place, having the CDs. I told them, I was like, you guys don't even know the gold mine that place was. You just walk in and just be like, what is this stuff? And be like a new Immortal album for like $12. I'm like, how is this imports that were so cheap?
Dude, I bought all those first 2 or 3 Judas Iscariot albums through there.
Dude,
I walk in and there's Judas Iscariot. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? the great thing that was great, the one thing that was really great about Quonset Hut, especially in the early days, like I don't know who was doing the ordering, but it definitely wasn't the owner. That guy was too stoned out of his fucking mind to order anything like that. So it had to be some young dude that knew this shit.
Mm-hmm.
No, I never hooked up with him. There was a guy from high school that worked there, and he turned me on to ministry. I was always coming in buying. I remember buying Napalm Death Scum and buying Obituary, Slowly Rot, shit like that. Dark Angel, Darkness Descends, buying shit like that. And he must have kept mental note because he came in. He's like, I know you buy all this really extreme stuff. Have you ever listened to ministry? I'm like, no. So he showed me the cassette tape. Mind is a terrible thing to taste. He's like, I guarantee you, if you buy this, you're gonna like it. So I bought it, and I fucking fell in love with it. Went and bought Stigmata and all this, what was Land of Rape and Honey,
Mm-hmm.
kind of shit. I don't think he was the one it was the buyer, but they had somebody there that for fucking a good 10, 15 years knew their shit.
Yeah, when I worked there was a guy that he didn't know. That's where I got most of my Entomb stuff. A lot of these EPs and stuff, because they were just sitting there when I worked there. And I was just like, what is this? And it was like dirt cheap. And I guess, I don't know if it's the same guy, but he just kind of went down the list. Oh, I guess I just get that. Just get that. It was just like he didn't care. Just order this. All right, I've heard of that. I'll just get that. And then we would get a box. I could kill myself for not there. We got a box that was like sitting at the Canton store, and they brought it opened up. All of these demos, early Rotting Christ demos.
Yeah.
I should have just snagged them, dude. I could kill myself for not doing it, but it was like all this crazy black metal and death metal that was just like covered in dust, just sitting there, that they were like, yeah, just put it out. And at the time I just kind of overlooked. I was like, yeah, maybe I'll get it, but
there were so many albums I overlooked that Quonset Hut would have that I just I remember when, like, especially when they were selling out their vinyl, when vinyl was taking a shit and they were selling records for like $5.99, $4.99, and they weren't even punch outs. They were just trying to deplete their stock. And I remember seeing like Halloween Better Than Raw on vinyl there, all these crazy fucking albums that, man, I'd go back in time. I would have snagged this fuckers up. I would have taken a whole paycheck, gone in there and got all that shit.
Now they're $40.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, my kids are, for Christmas, they asked me what I want. I said, well, I want all the Halloween on vinyl. I have it all on CD. Now I want it all on vinyl. So my wife got me two. Marissa got me one, and Nora got me one. But yeah, they're like $35 for a fucking piece. That's insane. I could have been getting that shit for $5 back in the day.
You gonna get Pink Bubbles Go Ape and Chameleon? No. Dude, I listen to those. I don't think they're that bad. But I think, is it Pink Bubbles Go Away? One of them's better than the other.
Yeah, Pink Bubbles is better than Chameleon. Chameleon's pure trash. That's Halloween's Cold Lake.
Oh God. I remember that Cold Lake because I remember I refused to have it, and it'll never be in my collection, but I remember you telling me about it back, when we first started hanging out, and you were just like, because the early stuff is obviously, my God, it's perfect. And then you were like, no, you don't want to listen to Cold Lake, Cherry Orchards. And then I remember you showed me the video, and I was like, what?
Oh, it's so embarrassing for them.
Because he's the ugliest human being on the face of the earth.
Yeah, and he can't sing like that to save his life. I don't even, when we'll get on the whole Celtic frosting, and we could spend hours on that, but I didn't even like Into the Pandemonium that much.
Me either.
I hated the experimental bullshit that was on there. You know, that one in their pride and the fucking Mexican radio.
Mexican
Fuck,
radio, yeah. What was it? Voodoo, Wall of Voodoo cover.
yeah. I mean, who the fuck covers Wall of Voodoo? I mean, fuck. But you know, they did the one in their pride, and then every other song, he did those whining fucking. Who was recording that album with him and said, "Do that? That's awesome." You would have been like, "Are you fucking serious?" I'd have punched him in his throat until he couldn't sing like that. What the fuck you think you're doing? But I do like Vanity Nemesis because the music is really
yes,
good,
but his
and he's
vocals are still kind of.
kind of trashy, and I can overlook him because the music's really good. See, it's not like Lake. The music was trash and the vocals were trash. There was no way I would find that job. Fucking. I mean, the funny thing was, is like I had bought 2 Megatherion, and my buddy Ed, we were at Quonset Hut, and I had 2 Megatherion. I had just gotten it, and I only got turned on to them not too long before Cold Lake it came out. I don't remember how long the space of time is, but I love Morbid Tales. I love 2 Megatherion. And so I'm up at Quonset Hut one day and I see the Cold Lake album. And I go to Ed and I'm like, "Hey man, there's a new Celtic Frost." He's like, "No, there isn't." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Cold Lake." He's like, "That's not Celtic Frost." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Believe me." He goes, "Don't get it." I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because I bought it and I threw it in the fucking trash." So I never bought it. I never even heard it until a Headbangers Ball one night played one of the songs, that Cherry Orchard song off of it.
Cherry Orchard, juices like wine. So horrible. But that's kind of how Same Difference was. I remember when that album came out and people were just like, don't listen to it. Like it's just not entombed. It's not good. And I don't know. You hear an album like that and you think it's pretty much the death knell for that band and they're never coming back.
You know, there's a lot of people switch gears just a little bit about vocal style and shit like that, how some bands can change vocally, and people absolutely fucking hate it. And some like it. Is one example is Amorphous. There's some people out there that won't even listen to Elegy or anything past Elegy and on. Like to them, the last Amorphous album is Tales from a Thousand Lakes. I love that album. I love the death metal vocals, but the guy that does the clean vocals needs to be shot. Those clean vocals are trash. When they did Elegy, those clean vocals are cool. I didn't understand how people got turned off by Elegy because of the clean vocals, when it sounds like 90% of the fucking people who rag on Amorphous for those vocals listen to bands that sound just like that. But because Amorphous is the one doing it, they don't like. That's the shit that kind of blew. There's people out there that I know who to this day were like, "Fuck that band."
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of how people treat Entombed. Where they do the first 2 albums and then most people I know love Wolverine Blues, but there's a lot of people that are just like, it's only the first 2 and then the Nihilist demos, and you know, anything after that we didn't listen to anything else and we refused to. And it's like, the thing with Amorphous is I don't think they ever put a bad album out, not one bad album. And I think they got that new singer.
Oh yeah, everything
dreadlocks all the way to the ground, you know.
And his clean vocals are fucking brutal. His clean vocals. Then his death metal vocals are just unfucking believable. You know, when he joined, they asked him to join the band because they love vocals. And he said, "Only if I can do death metal vocals too." And they were like, "It's not really the road we're going down." And he's like, "Then I don't want to be in the band." And they're like, "Okay, well, let's see what we can do." And now it's like,
still good.
Everything's perfect. There's not a bad track on any of those fucking albums.
And I'm glad that LG never tried for clean vocals, essentially. You know, even on Same Difference, they were still pretty gruff. You know, they weren't. I'm glad that he didn't do that, because I don't know, man. Some people do that and they try to change their voice, and it's just like it just really does not work. And
Like
uh,
James like James Hetfield.
oh my God.
You know, we had this. There's this. I can't remember who I was talking to, but like, if you had three wishes, what would you do? I said one of them would be go back in time and kill Bob Rock.
Because he's a hard rock producer. And
Well, number one, he told James Hetfield he could sing.
mhm,
You got a great singing voice. No, you don't. You can scream in key. Shut the fuck up and keep doing it.
yeah,
Well, blows my voice out. Don't drink so much.
yeah,
Go take, you know, you can scream in key like a motherfucker. You can't sing. And yeah is not a fucking good thing to be saying in every fucking song.
yeah.
150.
No, I agree.
I bet you LG might have had a good singing voice. You ever hear him talk? Like there's
Actually, no. In all the
oh,
years, no. I had never.
super deep voice. Really, I mean, he had a perfect voice for radio. Real nice, deep, cavernous sounding talking voice.
Mhm.
I think it was an interview that he had done in 2018. And I was just really listening to it. And I was like, man, he's got a great timbre to his voice. It's just like this. I bet you if he did try to sing, it would have sounded cool. It would have been kind of like the guy from Amorphous, that more bass toned
Mhm.
leading vocals. But you never know. He might have come out and tried to sound like Michael Sweet. I don't know. Could you imagine that?
Michael Sweet, who still sounds 10 out of 10 to this day.
I'm glad you shared that that Halloween sampler because I've been sweating that Michael Kiske shit.
Dude, he sounds great on that little.
Fucking great. But no, I was talking to my wife about this. I said, here's the thing. I said, number one, if I was Andy Darris and the record label said, hey, we want you to put an album out with Michael Kiske on vocals, I personally would have been like, fuck you. I've been in this band for 30 goddamn years. I'm one of the main songwriters. He doesn't just write the lyrics. He actually writes music for the band. And some of the songs he's written are some of my favorite.
Mhm.
And then you go, well, this has been, we want him because he did such a good job of the tour with the, Pumpkins United bullshit, even though he had to fucking lip sync some of the older tracks because he can't hit it no more.
Mhm.
I would have been pissed and I'd been like, fuck you. I ain't doing
Mhm.
it. But Andy probably was like, oh yeah, fuck it, we'll do it. But I think that now that I think about it, as long as Andy was in the band, he's still probably writing the lyrics and writing the vocal melodies and writing it, and he's probably writing it to Kiske's voice now, not what Kiske's voice would have been 40 fucking years ago.
Yeah, and I wonder they probably are not giving Kiske that much responsibility. They're probably like, you're just here because you were on the older stuff, so let's just do
Right.
your vocals and we'll take care of everything else. And
yeah, because I don't think Andy would have been worried about his job because I mean, 3 albums compared to how many have they put out now? 15, 17, something, whatever the fuck it is.
we should actually do an episode with especially you and Nick talking about Halloween, because you guys are
Talk for days.
mm-hmm.
I don't, there's not a day goes by that I don't listen to at least one Halloween album. I mean, literally, I don't think there's been a day going by in years that I don't put on at least. Well, one of my favorites is brain fart. Time of the Oath and Master of the Rings.
Yeah, those two are really good.
Those two are fucking great. And song Steel Tormentor. I love Steel Tormentor. That song goes over in my head over and over and over and over and over again.
Better Than Raw, I think, is amazing. I mean, all the early stuff. The Halloween singer I like more than Kiske and Darris is Kai Hansen. Stuff that he was on doing the Walls of Jericho.
Yeah.
Kai Hansen to me is, well, he's in the band now, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's the thing that surprised me. I think you told me that, and I was like, huh? And I looked it up, and I was like, holy crap, this dude's back in the band. But
yes, So they got 3 guitar players and 3 singers. It's gonna be hard to make it not sound like something fucked up, like some rock symphony or metal symphony bullshit like that. So the Arion guy or whatever it is,
Oh
where
yeah.
every line is a different singer.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I don't want to hear that shit. I love Andy Darius's vocals. I want to hear Andy Darius sing fucking Halloween songs.
Well, you love Andy Darius a ton. I know.
I love the Pretty Maid stuff that he did.
Or
Not pretty, yeah,
Pink Cream.
Pink Cream '69. Yeah,
That
love that.
you bring up that Pretty Maids, and it's I think around the same time that LG came out, that Ronnie Atkins from Pretty Maids came out and said that he had, I don't know what the story is with him, if it's terminal cancer or if they're treating it, or um I don't know, but he's got a new album coming out called One Shot, and it's people who like Pretty Maids, if you like Pretty Maids, you'll like it. It's everything with Pretty Maids has always been super melodic metal or just super melodic hard rock. And but he was yeah, no, I think it was around the same time that they came out that they both said that they had cancer, and I think his is throat maybe. um but I don't know, he looks okay. I just watched an interview today that was from yesterday or a couple days ago. I didn't watch too much of it, obviously, because it was all in Danish. I don't, I Danish. I don't. I can't remember where they're from. I think they're from the Netherlands or something. But I'm gonna have to look it up. But he looked really good. Yeah, they're Danish. So we'll see. I did get their last album. It really wasn't that great. Pretty Maids. It wasn't that great at all. But I don't know. It was kind of like as soon as LG said he had cancer, it just like went quick.
Yeah.
It
Well,
just,
he'd already had it for 7 years.
yeah,
I
that's
think
weird
that
because like I did read a couple things where just today where they said that yeah, he had it or he had issues with it or something. But then there were other things that were like, no, he was diagnosed with it in 2020. And I'm like, I don't know. I've read other things that said that, he had those kind of problems that he just never really said anything. And then um, whether or not who to me, it's like at this point, it's kind of moot because the guy's gone.
right.
It's like, so I don't know, man. It's
Well,
he,
bile duct,
yeah. What's
bile
that?
duct, the kind of cancer he had is super rare. Bile duct.
And if he had it for that long and nobody really knew about it, like he didn't make it public, and it was kind of like when Neil Peart died.
Right.
It was like I didn't know he had cancer. It was just like, oh hey, by the way, Neil Peart died of that blastoma, whatever it is, the glioblastoma or something. I think it is that brain cancer. I think it's the same thing that Senator McCain had
Yeah.
or something. But I mean, it's just like when Eddie Van Halen died. Now I knew he had cancer, but just one day it was like, boom, he's gone.
Right.
Like, oh, okay. But I don't know, man. We're getting older, and
Yeah, those guys are going to start dropping off.
it's a bummer. I was just wondering the other day. I was like, I wonder who the next is going to be, and then you wake up to the news that LG's gone, and just kind of it sucks. But that's kind of why I wanted to do this, and just kind of shoot the shit about it and just talk and figure out whatever what our favorite albums were, and just I don't know. I see a lot of tributes to him online and whatnot, but I don't think people realize the impact that he actually did make vocally and with the bands that he was in, and some of the other crap that he was on. he was on like an Amon Amarth album, and he guested on so many different.
I love that Amon Amarth song that he's on. He sounds fucking great. He sounds like straight left hand path vocals of
Mhm.
that song. Fucking great. Well, there's something I wanted to his if I had to go, I was thinking about it today. I listened to all the albums today.
Mhm.
And I think the best representation of all of his vocal styles are on this album.
Mhm.
Because he does super fucking brutal shit on here, like he did that song, the Sodom song, brain
When
fart,
in Sodom.
Sodom, fucking brutal vocals, and then he
Mhm.
has uprising style vocals, and some of that's. I think this would be if someone want to say, well, what did he sound like throughout the years? I'd tell them to buy this album
Yeah.
because of that.
And nobody really talks about it too. I remember when I bought it and people were like, "You bought that album?" And I thought, it's good, man. Like, I don't have to tell. It's really good.
Album. I mean, Thy Kingdom Come. I mean, fuck, man. When in Sodom, Serpent Saints. I know. Love Song for Lucifer.
I'm trying to think. What's the one song? The dead, the dying, and the dying to be dead. But yeah,
I think that's his perfect. Yeah, that's the perfect LG album. It shows all of his talent vocally and lyrically. Because I don't know if he wrote all the lyrics on this album, but the lyrics are fucking great. There's like death style vocals, and then songs, and then there's like what is the other one? Yeah, the dead, dying, where plague, famine, death, warfare, plague, death, famine, death. I don't know song titles anymore. I don't think I have enough room to remember song titles in my brain.
oh man, it's I agree with you. I think it's a good album. I think it sucks that he's gone. And I wanted to find the picture to post in the group that was him when he was given the snot rocket.
I love that
So
picture.
good, man.
Perfect shot.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I said, I just wanted to do this and kind of just shoot the shit about it and show appreciation for the guy.
For sure.
Awesome. But we got the episode coming up with Justin. I know there's other stuff, planned or going to be planned with, Jason and Nick, and we want to get a bunch of people going and just kind of have like a big round table type stuff that we can do this and put it online. And I think that
That'll
would
be
be really cool.
hell yeah. With the Zoom thing, it works out so nicely because we don't have to all magically appear at one person's house and da 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 da. And
Yeah.
yeah, this works nice, especially since we're so far away from each other anymore.
Yeah.
Like fucking Anthony on, was the last time you did one with Anthony?
Oh man. It was either Maiden or Black Metal.
Blackman was that the one we did in his house in the basement
Yeah.
in his music?
I can't remember if it was that or the Maiden one. That was a while ago. But yeah, I mean, really anyone. I know we're trying to get a bunch of people um, to do one. I want Justin's ass to start doing them because he's so good, but he's and if we do this guitar thing, I said, look, man, you started it. You're the one that posted the 10 guitar players, and I think it'd be great. I think that we all three, you and Justin and myself, have like different directions that we're coming from and different people. And um I always told him I'm like, when we were talking about it, I said I'd love to have Arnie do it because Arnie's a big death metal, hard, black metal, old school guy, but he listens to a lot of different music, and he has a lot of different, just good insight on things and different players that he likes. And I mean, my God, you just said earlier in the episode that you were almost in tears when Dean Martin passed away.
Oh yeah, it starts. Fuck. He was my idol, man. I
Oh,
wanted to be Dean Martin so bad. I wanted to be able to be as talented as Dean Martin, but I thought I would grow up and I thought to be, I don't know, I'd look like a fucking, an old turd. I thought by the time I was an adult that I would somehow magically look like fucking Tom Selleck. You know, when I was a kid watching Magnum PI, I was like, I want to grow up to look like Tom Selleck, and I want to be able to sing like Dean Martin. And I got neither one of those.
yeah. You look like Gimli.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, Gimli.
Shave off my beard and I look like Elmer Fudd. Fucking horrible.
But
Yeah, I'm excited about the guitar player thing because I kind of rushed through the one on Facebook. I just, whatever popped in my head right off the top, guitar player wise, but like, there's definitely ones I would have added onto there that put a little more thought into it.
yeah,
Because I wasn't even thinking like rock and roll guitar players and stuff like that. I wasn't even thinking that around. I was just all metal guys.
yeah,
Um,
I think that'd be a good dynamic, and um, we should probably plan on it, really soon here, especially on the weekends,
yeah,
whatever, and get it going. But I don't know. I think we'll probably just wrap this one up, and
I
with
do want to give one shout out to the new Blood Coven stuff.
yeah, plug your.
So, I've known Blood Coven, known Dan, and all the different incarnations of Blood Coven since they came out, and I love all the Blood Coven stuff. But these songs that I'm learning right now that we're putting together for this new album,
Mhm.
and I'm not just saying it just because I'm playing on it and I'm in the band now. It doesn't matter who was playing bass on this album. These fucking songs are fucking awesome. They're so good. Like, I usually don't like learning songs, especially songs already been written. I like to be in the writing process.
Mhm.
But when Dan started showing me these songs, I was just like, I can't wait to learn these songs
Mhm.
because they're fucking cool. Like, just a little bit of a insight, a little secret behind this. It's not typical Blood Coven stuff.
Mhm.
There's, it's a lot of, I think, more of Dan moving, getting older, especially now that I'm in the band. He's got this he's got like this let's simplify it a little bit, go back to the roots a little bit. Um there's only going to be one song that's long. The rest of them are 3, 4. I think we have a 2-minute song. I don't
Mhm.
think Blood Cup's ever done a 2-minute song. Um Straightforward, just kicking the dick, fucking metal. Even the song titles. It's going to be great. People are going to be really surprised when this album comes out.
No, I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, I told you years ago that he always seemed like such a good dude. I met him a couple times, and it's funny when I see him at the grocery store right down the road here. I'll see him like way at the other end. I'll just see some dude all dressed in black with a black leather jacket. It says Blood Coven on the back. I've seen that a couple times up there, but yeah, man. I mean, I saw him once live. That was with you at that Akron Death Fest at Annabelle's. Was
Yeah.
in the basement, and always good, man. I mean, it really reminded me of like a northeastern Ohio Morbid Angel, like old school Morbid Angel. Great
Yeah.
guitar work. Should get Dan on one of these, honestly.
Oh, Dan knows hardcore, punk, black metal, death metal, thrash metal. He just loves all that shit.
Mhm.
And now it's really becoming it's being influential in his songwriting. Um, it's Yeah, he would be awesome to have on the show. The guy knows so much shit. He's
Mhm.
like a walking encyclopedia of metal too. He lives, breathes, eats fucking metal, hardcore
Mhm.
and punk. Um, but yeah, he'd be a good one to have on the show. Yeah, he's a wealth of knowledge.
Well, set it up, ask him about it, see if,
Oh,
you know,
I talked to him once before. He said he'd be all about it. So
okay. We'll just have to
maybe,
pick one, just ask him what he would be into. And, we could do that. Like, everything with this is nothing's, it's just whatever we want to do. Let's
right.
just do it. LG came up. And so I was like, you know what? I want to get Arnie on and just shoot the shit like we would if I was at your place. Um,
Yeah.
sit there for hours and hours just shooting the shit.
Oh,
So
hey, it's 3 a.m. I think we might want to stop bullshitting now. I forget those days.
but yeah, well, thanks for doing this. And
Thanks for having me.
but yeah, we'll get together here soon, in another episode, and we'll do the thing with Justin and start getting your notes together and stuff on that, and like stuff you want to talk about, and
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll go.
I'll just homework for that one.
But yeah,
Cool.
so yeah, thanks everybody for, anybody who's going to watch this, and continue support, and hope everybody enjoys it. So
Yeah.
cheers.
All right, man. Later.